Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please remain standing for a moment of silent reflection for servicemen and women throughout the world, and also for those who have passed away in our community during this past week. Thank you. Roll call, please.
Mr. Wexler?
Here.
Mr. Rogan?
Here.
Mr. Loscom?
Here.
Mr. Gahan?
Here.
Mr. McGough?
Here. Dispense with the reading of the minutes.
Third order, 3A minutes of the Scranton Housing Authority's regular meeting held May 5, 2014.
Are there any comments? If not, received and filed.
3B, audit status report from Robert Rossi and Company received June 5, 2014.
Are there any comments? If not, received and filed.
3C, tax assessor's report for the hearing dates held May 21 and June 18, 2014.
Are there any comments? If not, received and filed. Are there any clerk's notes?
Nothing, Mr. McGough.
Thank you. Any council members have announcements?
Yes, I just have two. Flag Day is this Saturday. I hope nobody showed up last Saturday when I mentioned it because nobody would have been there. So that was my mistake. I apologize. Flag Day is this Saturday, June 14th at Courthouse Square from 1 to 2 p.m. The event is open to the public. The event will honor the United States flag and the founding of the United States Army. Also, the Divine Mercy Parish Picnic in Manuka will be held next Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, June 19th, 20th, and 21st. Please get out and support this event. Thank you.
Anyone else? I would like two announcements as far as council is concerned. First, the meeting schedule for July 3rd will be, I'll say, canceled, and council will meet July 2nd. July 3rd is the evening of the Philharmonic and fireworks downtown, and council felt that it would be a good evening to allow the public and council members to partake in those festivities. And so we will meet on Wednesday, July 2nd, not Thursday, July 3rd. Also, council has voted to take an August recess, that we will not meet during the month of August unless there is need for a special meeting, which we will call if that occurs. And also, this Sunday is Father's Day, and we wish all fathers out there, fathers of all kinds, a happy Father's Day. And that's all. Thank you.
Fourth order, citizens' participation.
First speaker is Chief Pat DeSarno.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone, ladies and gentlemen. Few are the times I come up here with a smile on my face, but it's a new ball game here in the city, which is a good thing. Excuse me. I came by tonight to inform all of you and citizens of Scranton, both here and at home, about a major, I think what is a good faith, goodwill, and a partnership that has just transpired here in the city. Better without these. Through the very cooperative efforts of first and foremost Mayor Courtwright and Mr. Brooks Turco of Regional Hospital of Scranton, along with Elaine Walker, an RN up there, and the Director of Diagnostic Services, their CFO, Mr. Bob Stykes, and RN Delphine Jean-Louis, all of Regional Hospital, and myself and several members of the Scranton Fire Department. Our membership will be receiving a free of charge, this partnership has worked out, a very long overdue and very necessary hepatitis B screening. And what's going to happen there is it's going to, on an individual needs basis, any of our members who are uninoculated and I'll get to that in a second, are going to receive the full series of injections, and everyone else will be titered, which means their blood will be tested for the antibodies, and anyone from whatever those results dictate, they'll either get a booster or a whole new full series if needed. So that's a great thing. And this is all positive stuff. When I took this position, I came in with a glass half full kind of an attitude. But in the context of this, history dictates context. So with that said, since in March of 2005 through March of 2008, 12 members were added to the Scranton Fire Department. And sadly, none of those guys were offered hepatitis B inoculations. And in 2008, Al Lucas attained the rank of deputy chief, and he made every effort he could to get the previous administration to get these shots. It fell on uncaring ears. Nobody cared. It was left to languish. Now, in 5 short months of this new administration, this is happening now, free of charge to the city. Can't describe it. You could dictate for yourself what that means. Something I've learned in these few months, and that is that most times if you come out with a sincere hand and you extend it, and you ask for help, there are so many good individuals in this city and good businesses, people in this city, that are willing and ready to lend a hand. And some have indeed done just that. And that brings me to another thing that should be coming across your desk next meeting. We just received an incredible donation from, and I'd like to thank Mr. Louis Danzico of Management Enterprises, Amos Towers, for a very generous donation that is going to equip all of our apparatus, all 9 of our frontline apparatus, with fully stocked toolboxes. So again, I'd like to thank them very much so. And that's actually their second donation. The first one was used to get the first installment of our Opticon systems, which are the light-changing devices that help us respond, change lights, avoid accidents, and so on and so forth. And earlier this year, Pennsylvania American Water came across, as you know, with a big donation to help us get the other installment of those devices. So, in closing, again, thanks for all you're doing up there. I want to thank the mayor, Mr. Danzico, Regional Hospital, and I know I speak for everyone, when all the members of the Scranton Fire Department, when I say that this latest thing is very much, and their families, because that's who everybody's protecting out there. When I say I'm appreciative of what has been done. So everybody have a good night. Enjoy the weekend. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Chief. Thanks for the good work. And the Chief has kept me apprised on some issues, but like he said, till we get some letters and that, we don't really announce them here. I'm glad he was here to bring that to our attention.
And I would just like to add, I believe that, firmly believe that the health and welfare of all employees in the city of Scranton is an important component to the public safety of the city, and also to the financial stability of the city. It will go a long way to helping. Next speaker, Joan Hodowanitz.
Good evening, Council. Joan Hodowanitz, city resident.
Good evening.
I went through the background papers in the office prior to council meeting, and I noted another status from Rossi on the city audit dated June 5th. And there are still 26 open items. And so it's just something you need to, keep your finger on that pulse, because if memory serves, the administration, the mayor, must present you with a proposed budget in 5 months and 3 days on November 15th, and you'll be surprised how fast that time is going to go. But it didn't seem to be much progress from the prior status reports, so just bring that to your attention. Could you give me the status of the Goodwill project?
We talked about it a little bit in our caucus today. I did speak to Ms. Abley last week regarding the status, and we still heard the same answer, that it's a matter of vouchers through HUD. What I did mention in the caucus, and I will mention it in motions tonight, is that we are going to send a letter and call Mr. Langen directly to find out what the status of the project is, whether those vouchers have been approved, denied, or pending approval.
What happens if the vouchers are denied?
Well, that would be up to Goodwill. Unfortunately, council doesn't have much say in the matter on what direction they choose to take, but if they were denied, then he would have to seek, other means of renting out the properties.
All right, well, I'll be watching that. I'm glad, though, you followed through on that. That shows great initiative. And another point of initiative, in this morning's paper, city pockets $434,000 in tax sales. That's kind of bittersweet. You don't want to see anybody lose their home because of delinquent taxes. On the other hand, delinquent taxes have to be collected, so I commend the city for their efforts in this third annual tax sale. At least it's brought some money into the city's coffers. And finally, I know I come up again and again, and a lot of what I say sounds negative, but I recently retired for the second time in mid-November, and finding myself with some time on my hands, I'm able to participate in a lot of the downtown city events. And Saturday, I took the Lackawanna County Historical Society walking tour in downtown buildings, and they have a series of 3 that run throughout the summer, every Saturday morning. And these things are excellent. They're free. And anybody's got free time and a curious mind and wants to spend an hour learning about the city's history, you should do this. There'll be one this Saturday at 11 a.m., and you can go from the walking tour to the Flag Day ceremony. They're all downtown. It's amazing the number of things there are to do in downtown Scranton and in the Scranton area. If anybody just has the time and the desire to participate, they're pretty good. So I just recommend that to anybody. And if you want to learn about the walking tours, just call the Lackawanna Historical Society between 10 and 5 p.m. tomorrow, and they'll book you a slot. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Carl Kupchunas?
My name is Carl Kupchunas. I'm a lifelong resident of Lower Greenridge. One of the reasons I'm here this evening is to invite everyone here and everyone watching to our annual block party. The Mary Mother of God Parish at Holy Rosary Church in North Scranton will be holding our annual block party next weekend, June 19th, 20th, and 21st at our parish center, which is on West Market Street near Cole Muffler. The block party is between 6 and 11 p.m. on Thursday and Friday, and between 5 and 11 p.m. on Saturday. The block party will include the following live entertainment. On Thursday, Damien the Magician will start the evening between 7 and 8, followed by the Poets, who will play until 11 p.m. Pat McGlynn will be playing acoustic music in our bar area. On Friday, a local drum band will start the evening between 6 and 7 p.m., followed by one of the very best bands in our area, Picture Perfect, who will play until 11 p.m. On Saturday, Jim Sermonero will be featured between 5 and 6:30. Later, country music with the Gene Zano Band will be on stage between 7 and 11 p.m. This year's entertainment should be enjoyable for everyone. We have a wide variety of games for adults and children. Adults will enjoy our annual raffle, the Big Six Wheel, as well as several other games. For the children, we have plush animals, lollipop tree, kids corner, which will include face painting, sand art, and many more games. We can't forget about our annual diaper derby, which we run Friday, June 20th at 7 p.m. All children up to 3 years of age are warmly invited to run for the roses. Ribbons and prizes will be awarded at the medal stand. Other features of our block party are the silent auction, dining around, baskets galore, book nook, an ice cream truck, bingo, and many more. Also, we have some of the best food around. In addition to the usual burgers, hot dogs, fries, pizza, potato pancakes, and usual block party food, a stand from our neighbors and friends at the Shiloh Baptist Church will feature the best chicken and ribs that you ever had. If you miss our block party, you miss the best food and entertainment of the summer season. As you can see, our block party has something for everyone. We hope to see you there next weekend, rain or shine, and sincerely thank everyone who comes. Anyone wishing to volunteer at our block party, please call the parish office at 342-4881. In other matters, I have some safety concerns about a new business that moved into the 1500 block of Albright Avenue a few months ago. This business is CrossFit Scranton. It is the practice of this gym that several times a week, usually during the early evening rush hours, they have members of the gym run down the middle of the 1500 and 1400 block of Albright Avenue, carrying kettlebell weights. There has been times when traffic has been backed up in both directions. Last week, it took me almost 10 minutes to get out of my driveway because of the gym members running down the middle of the street. Another practice which they have is their members exercise on people's sidewalks. About a month ago, there were 4 or 5 members of this gym lifting weights on my sidewalk. This is a liability issue. I can't understand why they do not have their members run and exercise in the former Gelbin Company property, which is right next to their gym. Having them run down the street is an accident waiting to happen. There are 3 other gyms within a 1-block radius of my house, and they're all great neighbors. I hope CrossFit Scranton realizes the safety concerns that they are causing and the nuisance that their members are creating for the people that live in the 1400 and 1500 block of Albright Avenue. Lucky they only do this a couple times a week, not every day. Finally, I have some concerns about several blighted properties in our neighborhood. A few years ago, our neighbors had a meeting with Jody Cordero with renovations he had planned to take place for the Scranton Lace Corporation building, which would have made the abandoned property an asset to the community. As of now, nothing has happened. There are more windows being broke out every week by teenagers throwing rocks at the building. Almost every night you could hear windows being smashed from my house. Also, there was a fire there a couple months ago, and homeless people were trying to get in the building during the cold winter months. There is another for sale sign on this building. Please let me know in motions if you know the status of the Scranton Lace Corporation building renovation, or is it a dead issue currently? Also, in the 1400 block of Mylard Avenue, the Sparacino building at the corner of Marion and Mylard is falling down, and several walls are partially missing, and it has no roof on the building. 2 doors down from that building, the former Landside Steel Fabricators building is in equally bad shape. Also, this building has no roof, and several walls are missing or falling down. Please let me know if they're either planning to demolish or repair either of these 2 buildings before somebody gets hurt either walking by them or driving by on the streets, before the buildings fall down and cause somebody gets injured. Thank you for your time, and I hope everybody has a great summer.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr.
Mr. Kopchunas, is it? Would you be able to provide that in writing to council? I was trying to write everything down, but
Yes.
that would be great if you could leave it with Jamie there.
They probably, Joey Cordero had artist renderings, and there was going to be a museum in there was going to be a health club in there was going to be, a restaurant, artist department. It was like fantastic. They show these pictures, and now, I don't know if you drive by there on Albright Avenue, every night you hear people smashing the windows.
Right.
It's terrible. Our property values are going down instead of going up.
I do know as of a month ago, there was work going on in that building. That's actually how the fire started. From the work going on in the building, they were currently working on mitigating lead and asbestos on the inside of the building. So that was the update when, I think the fire was about 2 months ago. And that's actually how the fire started, from a torch where they were cutting the property. So they are working on the inside, but it's such a large building and there's so much hazardous material in there. That's really what's consuming their time now. That's why we haven't.
There's homeless people trying to get in there, and
We will try to find out what the status of the project is.
because Mr. Cordero,
Thank you.
when he painted the rosy picture, our property values would have went up considerably, now they're actually going down.
Thank you, Mr.
So I'll
Kupchunas.
make one.
Is there anyone else who wishes to address council?
Good evening, Dave Dobson, resident of Scranton. Taxes and fees paid.
Good evening.
Appreciate if the Welchers would do the same, especially if you do have the money. I understand. The only thing I support as far as back taxes and back trash fees for indigent people is just put a lien against their property and we'll collect it someday. But I don't know how soon it has to be put on it or how far back it can go, so it would be prudent to put the lien on the property even if you don't act on it. Once again, I'd like to mention speeders, people showing up at an intersection after you've looked, and I can't tell how fast they're going, but I do suspect it exceeds the speed limit considerably. And by the way, the last one I encountered, we sat at a double stoplight. So we got really far, you know, speeding to a stoplight. I mean, that's very intelligent behavior. And last week, we made a mention of vacant lots, and I have a small problem in that area. Years back, I bought a vacant lot adjacent to my house, and at that time, the taxes were kind of high, $333 for 40 by 170, not developable by Scranton code, and now they're up to 551. So before we go into vacant lots, we have to get something going with the county. I plan to file for an appeal, but they seem to think that I wasn't worth it, the person that handed me the, so it is considerable in the fact that it's not a developable property. I need 12 feet easement on both sides. At best, I could fit a house trailer in there long ways, and that's illegal as per Scranton code. So, I mean, it just gets to be a drain, and that's why I suspect a lot of these lots are just hanging around year after year after year. I agree with Joe Weschler on State Act 47. He brought that up last week. Once again, our state legislature is just giving themselves absolution for many of the problems that they and our state constitution caused. We don't get compensation for tax-exempt properties, no matter what they are, and we have 33% at this time, and it's wrong. It's definitely wrong, and probably nothing good will come of that law. It just sounds like they made it all the tougher on the poor people that have to put up with it in the cities. Call your Chamber of Commerce. Tell them to stop creating a business property bubble, please. Be polite, but it's definitely, when you have an excess of business properties, there's going to be losers, and one of the losers is our mall downtown. And once again, if anybody could find out if the power lines at NAOG, PP&L owned, are, if they're compensating for the property they take up. Maybe I can get to a meeting with the park authority and get it out of them. I'm not sure. And once again, I'd like to warn about the sewer authority. Once it gets into corporate hands, they're going to want tons of money, and that's money that could be going to bail the city out. It'll be going to enrich a corporation instead. And last week I spoke on some veterans affairs, and I am not a veteran. I'm not like the senator in Connecticut that came with all kinds of war stories, and in reality he had a posh job in the Army. And I was available for the draft, but I never volunteered, and I wasn't drafted. But Senator Sanders and Senator McCain got together, and hopefully we'll see some kind of breakup in the logjam with the veterans. They were underfunded, and they encouraged people to be dishonest and state that vets were being taken care of, and they weren't. And once again, if you're in a union, non-union, Democrat, Republican, call your congressman, call your senators, call the president, and tell them to can the trade pacts. And if they start stating about the jobs it will create ask them how many jobs you're going to lose over it, and subtract that from the jobs you create. You'll come up with the negative number, obviously, and if they insist on their sales pitch, well, use some stronger language. Thank you, and have a good night.
Thank you.
Good evening, Scranton City Council, Jamie, court stenographer, Lori, and Emil. I'd like to start off tonight with a question that was asked a few months back, maybe even longer, by a resident. And basically, I'm going to rephrase it a little bit. And the question is, how will the city go about getting the recyclables picked up in courts and alleys? I'm being told by some concerned residents who live in courts and alleys that their recyclables are still not being picked up. So can someone please address this during motions tonight if they know the answer, or get the answer for us next week, if that's at all possible? And this question has been out there for quite some time now. Now, the Lace building, I was under the impression that when we had the fire there, that they had security there. Do they have security there, or don't they have security there? If they have security there, why isn't security picking up on these people and kids or whoever they may be who are breaking the windows? I think that's a legitimate question that needs to be asked.
And that was my question when
and
it
it
was
needs to be
mentioned.
asked and answered by the developer, the people who are in charge. It's not the city's responsibility, it's the developer who's in charge of that. Does he or does he not have security there? If he has security, then they need to start doing their job and find out who's breaking these windows if this is really happening there. Okay? That's why hopefully they're being paid for. Now, another topic, as far as tax revenue. Last week, I believe Mr. Wexler said we had a 55% increase in tax revenue corrected from last year, property tax. Well, you know, we had a 56% tax increase, so that might be part of the reason why we had a 55% tax increase in taxes.
It's all the reason.
Exactly. But I just, you know, okay, now lesson, you know, you have lessons, school teachers have lesson plans, coaches have game plans, people who are buying houses have housing plans for their new house, they have financial plans. Why can't the city of Scranton come up with a viable recovery plan for the city of Scranton? It's been 22 years and 5 months now, over 8,000 days. I would think that's long enough a time for someone to have come up with a viable recovery plan to get this city back on its feet. Myself and a lot of other citizens are really tired of hearing that we're doing this, we're doing this, we're doing this, but we never see anything happen. Okay? It's been 22 years now, for God's sakes. That's a long time. Okay? We need to get on this. I don't know how hard people are working on it, and I'm sure you are working on it, but maybe we need to work a little harder on it, because we need to get this city back on its feet. We're losing people, we're losing business, we're losing populations. We're the laughing stock, almost the laughing stock of the state of Pennsylvania. We've been on national news, we've been on world news, we've been on everything. When's it going to stop? When is someone going to actually sit down and explain to the citizens of Scranton what is really going on and what the alternatives are, and if it's ever going to be resolved or it's not going to be resolved? Okay, I personally believe, my personal belief only, the city is not going to get the money. No one's going to loan this city money. I might be wrong, and if I'm wrong, I'll come right here and say I was wrong. But that's my personal belief, because it's been too long. We need to know what's going on. Okay, the mayor stated that this is a difficult situation. I think everyone in the city realizes that this is a difficult situation. It's been a difficult situation for 22 years. But again, I must remind people, the mayor did get a $25,000 a year pay raise. Okay, he went from $50,000 to $75,000. So difficult decisions should be being made, okay? And again, I reemphasize, we need, the residents of the city of Scranton want to know what's going on. Okay, basically my solution to all this, if you want to just relax, forget everything, come on out to the Dante Club at 1916 Prospect Avenue, have a couple adult beverages, play some pool, play the jukebox, have something to eat. We're having food now in the kitchen starting every night. Just come out, relax, forget the problems of Scranton, and just enjoy yourself and have a good day. Thank you. See you at the Dante Club.
Thank you.
Good evening, Council.
Good evening.
I'd like to, tonight, go over a few requests for some benchmarks, since we do not have a year-end forecast yet, other than the budget, which we know isn't worth the match to burn it up. So the garbage fees, could we get, or do you know, Mr. Wexler, since you've been in touch with the Treasurer's Office, on the number that were mailed, the number that have paid either in total or partially as of the 31st of May, and how that compares with the number that were of last year?
What I have is dollar amounts. The report that's generated from Northeast does not issue a report as to how many paid partially or completely.
No, they don't go, they go to the Treasurer's Office, no?
Well, the treasurer gets the information from the collection service as well. The system does not allow them to, the treasurer's office does not allow them, the report that they have does not allow them to separate who paid in total or who paid.
Well, I don't care. I just want to know, compared 20, at the same period of time when they were due, either the first payment or a full payment.
Yes, I'm going to do that tonight.
2013 to 2014, and I would also like to know what the amount was for the landfill last year, if you would recall, the 2013, there was nothing paid, it was abated, and it to be spread over the following 3 years. So I would like to know how much the actual was that will be in this year's, well, I'm sure we put something in for this year's budget, I don't remember what it was, but for the following 2 years after this year as well. And then the same for the parking meter revenue from January through May for last year and this year. We had been getting fairly regular reports about the parking meter revenue, and I don't believe we've had any. And then also the mercantile tax, a comparison of the number of businesses that have paid a tax this year compared to last year. Have we gained business or have we lost business? And then, Mr. Rogan, the OECD loan status, and I know it's in court, but I would think that Mrs. Abley is keeping a pretty close watch on what's happening with the 500 block of Lackawanna Avenue Park.
We have had discussions about it. I will see, I will talk to her again this week to provide some more information.
Maybe you could do that next week. And then, will we have, prior to your leaving on recess, a year-end forecast of what our expenses are and revenue?
That I can't say at this time.
Okay, and I would like to know too, I don't know if this falls on Mr. Loscom, who in the past has been meeting with PennDOT, but could we get a timeline for the Harrison Avenue Bridge? And could we find out if, since one of the workarounds is up through Bunker Hill, if anything's going to be done with that road? I believe it's called Sand, at least part of the way up into 307, if we could find out if anything's going to be done with that, and again, what the timeline is. And then just a comment, I listen to WILK a couple of times a day, and it seems every time I listen, they're advertising for the Philharmonic and the fireworks display, which is wonderful. I plan to partake myself. But I got to tell you, it really galls me when I hear that Steamtown Mall is a sponsor which I assume means they are paying money into this, and they can't pay even $1 on their loan, and they leave that to the taxpayers. I just think that's unconscionable. And that will be all for tonight. Thank you.
Mrs. Schumacher, you asked about the Harrison Avenue Bridge project. I have here that the project is scheduled for July 3rd, 2014 let date, which means that's when it will go out to bid, and construction will be completed in 2016.
Wait, the bids have not gone out, are you telling me?
No. As far as I know, that's what I have here from Mr. Pocious, our city engineer.
Whoa, I thought they were supposed to start construction this year.
No, it says the project is scheduled for
2014.
July 3rd, 2014 let date, and the construction will be completed in 2016.
Oh, let date. Okay, well, there must be those people must be bidding to a schedule of events. I mean, I know they're going to keep the one open, but when they start doing things, and for those of us who use the intersection a whole lot, it would be nice to see what they bid to. So if you could get that from Mr. Pocious too, that would be helpful.
Okay.
Okay?
If you put that in writing too and give it, if you email it or however
Okay.
you want to do that.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
Mr. McGough, if I may, just as a reminder, the rules of council do state that all requests for council need to be made in writing.
Yes, please.
Thank you.
Good evening, Doug Miller, Scranton. A few issues here this evening. Just like to rebut on some of the statements that were made earlier tonight, particularly talking about delinquent taxes. And, you know, certainly anytime we have the ability to collect delinquent taxes, it's obviously not a harmful thing. It means we have some revenue coming into the city, but at the same time, it just also highlights a negative effect on the city, and that is that we're dealing with a lot of residents through the community who can't pay what they don't have. And so talking about delinquent taxes is a nice thing. There's no doubt about that. But when you're dealing with a community of the majority of residents who have an inability to fulfill their obligations, it's very difficult to collect that tax revenue. And I think we can all agree through the course of time the residents have suffered an awful lot. And I think moving forward, as I've said repetitively from this podium for years, we need to become more creative in the way we generate revenue into this city. Now, I'd like to discuss a little bit on this PFM Financial Services, and as you are all well aware, I don't consistently attend these meetings as I have in the past, weekly, but I do pay attention as I've stated before. So I may be a few weeks behind in my discussion on this issue, but it's come to my attention that we may have jumped the gun when we entered into this deal, and I think we inadvertently or intentionally violated the administrative code when we went ahead and entered into this contract. As we all are, well, I'm hoping we're well aware of what the administrative code is, and I'm going to refer to section 6-13, which clearly states, and I'm not going to read it verbatim, but basically to summarize it, no money shall be paid out the city treasury except upon appropriation previously made by the council. So in other words, the bottom line is real simple here, to basically simplify it. This council should have never entertained any contract with this PFM Financial Service because nothing was put in the drafted in the 2014 operating budget. Therefore, we violated the administrative code by entering into a contract with PFM. And I understand this council was given its blessing by Mr. Balzoni. That in itself speaks for itself right there. This is the same Balzoni character who gave Landmark Bank his blessing on an SPA loan that was never approved by council. And you know, I'd appreciate a little respect. You know, I come to the podium and I don't need grown men shaking their head at me. You know, and I just think that, you know, I don't understand where our mindset is from time to time, where we just feel we can blatantly violate laws. We seem to have no respect for law in this city. And you know, at the end of the day, we wonder why we're in the situation we're in. But this is clearly a violation. This clearly should never have happened. We're due to this negligence, it seems we're locked into this deal until 2018. There's no cap. No tough questions were answered, or asked or answered, I should say. You know, it seems like yet again we have a mayor who just continues to play this magical flute, and we all just keep waltzing around, you know, in our delusional dream world here, not asking any questions, just going with the flow. And again, I'm going to remind the residents of this city, what has changed from this administration to the previous administration? Absolutely nothing. Yeah, it's nice to, as again, and I hate to be repetitive, but I am so tired of hearing how well we all work together. Oh, the communication is so much better. That's wonderful. That's great. Didn't we know that that was what we were elected to do? Work together? Okay, that's nice. So we have that out of the way. We've heard that millions of times. Okay, so now that we know that, well, now why don't we roll our sleeves up and come up with some creative solutions? Instead of bringing in these transplants from New Jersey who recommend tax increases, now we're talking about a pension tax. I mean, you got to be kidding me here. And then the other day we read in the paper we're talking about looting the workers' comp fund to obtain $5 million for the Supreme Court award. I stated last week, we need to face the reality that the money's not coming. And the sooner we wake up and realize that, is the sooner we're going to be much better off. We frightened the banking community by our failed decisions in the past, and we continue to frighten them. And I mean, we just keep looting one account after another. When is it going to stop? Another issue is the CDBG money. You know, due to our negligence on the whole Boscov fiasco, we were told that we may now have to forfeit some CDBG money. Can somebody answer to me tonight, is that correct? Are we now required to forfeit some of that money? Is there anybody up here who can answer that for me tonight?
We voted 2 weeks ago to make changes in the allocations for money that was removed, taken away from HUD because of the failure of the payment from Mr. Boscov and other mistakes in the past 20 years.
Okay, well, I guess my next question would be then, is that going to jeopardize the funding that was allocated for street repair and other repairs to the neighborhoods?
Not street repair, no.
Which repairs then?
We had I believe Attorney Hickey went through the presentation, but it will be coming back up. There's a 30-day comment period where it was tabled. It will be coming back up. It needs 2 more votes to become law. And I believe it was a week ago, so another 3 weeks it should be back on the agenda.
Well, you know, it's just a shame that we're even in this situation, that, again, just the negligence and the mismanagement has even put us into the point where we even have to have this discussion. There's no safer grant coming, so now we're going to be talking about, you know, reducing the staff of the fire department, probably the potential of, you know, brownouts and closing fire stations. So again, nothing good happening, and again, no reason for optimism. So, you know, it's just more discouraging news.
Thank you.
Anyone else?
Good evening, Council.
Good evening.
Lee Morgan. I usually don't say that. I don't know why. You know, some people ask what's really going on. And, you know, to be honest with you, you know, people talk about the debt, whether it's $500 million, $750 million. It's really not even relevant because the city needs billions of dollars to recover. We've torn so many structures down. Our infrastructure is so torn up. I mean, and the average person walking up and down the street, they know that. I'm just thoroughly amazed by conversations I've heard in the last couple months about people saying they're just getting out of here. They're just leaving. They don't even care anymore. They're just going to leave. Now, my other question is, where were they for all the decades while these meetings were taking place, and where is everybody today? I mean, that should send a very strong message to this council. And not only this council, but elected government across this Commonwealth and across this country, because you've lost the support of the citizens. They have absolutely no faith in their elected government. That's a pretty scary statement to make. I mean, you can tell that by the voter turnout. There needs to be some real hard choices made here in this council chamber. I mean, we can discuss whatever issues you want to discuss, but you just got done, or one of the councilmen, I thought it was you, Mr. Rogan, who talked about the vouchers for the project at North Scranton. Everybody wants to develop a project, but they have their hand out. They're not coming here like the founders of this city who built this city with their own money. They all want to use the state treasury, the city's money, grant money, federal money, and then the city itself wants to use that money also. So where is the private investment in our community at? The Armory is going to probably go for less than $100,000. You know, if anything was going to be done with grant money, just thinking off the top of my head, don't we still have the remnants of the Civil War Museum in the basement of this building? Is it still there?
It's not remnants, it's still there.
Okay, well, why don't we come up with some grant money and buy that Armory building and donate it to them?
Because they want to be there.
Well, maybe they might want to be somewhere else. And since the Armory is a very old building, I think it'd fit the whole plan. The Armory's probably 100 years old. It's a very beautiful and very strong building. It'd be a beautiful place for a museum near the center of our city. But you know, I mean, it's time to be really realistic. You didn't create all these debts. Previous councils did, and previous mayors and previous administrations, because what we've done is we've taken grant money, we've built unviable projects, and didn't care about the result. That's been seen time and time again in my last 20 years in this council chamber, where we've lost money on the city's alleged investments and projects, and where they've just turned upside down. But you know, if people were investing in their own projects, they'd be a lot more careful about what they were doing. And you know, when we talk about tax increases and holding people's feet to the fire, and you look at the average wage of $21,000, any tax increases aren't workable. They're just not workable because your residents don't have the income to pay them. So it's really time to tell the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania to come up with a plan and do something. They should have did over 20 years ago. I did attend that meeting at St. Mary's Center when we went into this distressed status. There were no real answers there either. There haven't been any real answers for a long time. And to be honest with everybody in the community, you keep electing people who have no idea what they're getting elected to and have no vision for a future, and you can't find one. Because in order to have a future, you have to know where you want to take somebody. And getting elected and sitting in a seat and not having a vision, you might as well go to a movie. So, you know, and I'm not being critical of the council, but you know, where is our country and where's our community headed? And like I said, we're billions of dollars down from solvency because we have so many projects that we have to accomplish to actually turn this city around. Just paying our debts and our obligations, that's nothing compared to the amount of money we have to invest in our infrastructure to start really having a very successful, progressive community. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else?
Green, you're tuning into AMTV Alternative Media Television. You know, I'm really sick of listening to Washington bureaucrats and Wall Street insiders tell me that negative interest rates and these low interest rate policies at the Federal Reserve and the ECB are somehow a part of the new paradigm and the new normal. That we're now suddenly going to have sustained low interest rates into the future, into infinity. That somehow taking on excess overhead and gigantic amounts of more debt is in the best interest of the American people, or the people of Europe, or the people of the world for that matter. You know, it's the same policies at the Federal Reserve, this private criminal entity, which again has unelected officials, people like Janet Yellen, that are screwing over everybody else. Screwing over the little guy, driving up food prices overseas so that people suffer and can't get enough food, while at the same time distributing and transferring massive amounts of wealth from the middle class to elites. You know, I just watched some idiot from PIMCO, the latest hire of Bill Gross, because they got in some kind of egotistical war and fight with the other guy, smile from ear to ear like he was the Joker from a Batman movie. This irrational exuberance that everything's going to work out. that historically low interest rates are somehow a part of their quote-unquote new normal. And this is just how it is. It doesn't matter that everyone else is getting screwed. It doesn't matter that the little guy, savers, retirees, can't get a return on their investment anymore, can't invest in a bond and get 5% back on an annual basis because these scumbag whores on the inside of Wall Street are getting free money at the Federal Reserve open window at 0%. And they're taking interest rates over at the ECB in Europe to the negative range. Again, all of this shows and demonstrates and proves to you and the American people and the world at large is just how disastrous of a situation we actually have in the United States of America and abroad. Just how rotten structurally this whole system is. Because it'll literally collapse if they don't take interest rates negative. Of course, this has been 5+ years post the worst calamity we have ever seen since the 1930s Great Depression. I would argue worse. And we are seeing new record heights on the Dow Jones Industrial Average and the S&P 500. I mean, brand new heights. This is as good as it gets. It's unbelievable. Trillions of dollars extorted from the little guy in the form of bailouts. $45 billion bailouts to companies like Bank of America, courtesy of taxpayers, because these same scumbags have been running the show and, driving the entire country into the ground. It's absolutely disgusting, and it's bullshit, and the American people should be irate about it. Again, bailing out these companies, allowing them even to exist anymore, is a cardinal sin. All of these banks, Bank of America, Chase Bank, Goldman Sachs, should be driven into bankruptcy, which was the exact position they were put in 2008. You've got people and investors, billionaires like Warren Buffett that the idiotic Americans worship like he's some kind of god. He's part of the same scumbag cartel that accepted bailouts and his criminal investments in Goldman Sachs in 2008. Otherwise, he would have lost billions. I think these people rationalize it in their mind that somehow they're doing it for the American people, or they're doing it for the little guy, or the systemic shock to the economy could have perhaps destroyed Rome as we know it. Well, we all know that's total and utter bullshit. All of these people are narcissistic, self-interested people that only care about their own pocketbooks. If Warren Buffett and these figures that people worship like some kind of god actually cared about the American people, instead of cozying up to President Barack Obama during the 2008 crisis and showing his allegiance to these scumbags, the emperor that is now the king of the USSA, he would have said something if he was the real Oracle of Omaha. If he was really just a regular dude who drives a pickup truck. Who really gave a crap about the American people in general. Because everybody that's getting screwed in America today is you. Is the people of the world. It's the little guy. It's the average person that has a monarch in the White House right now calling the shots. Whether or not it's the National Defense Authorization Act or it's the release of 5 extreme Taliban terrorists that can go out and kill more Americans for some scumbag that walked off his base due to his own volition, helped the Taliban make bombs to kill our own U.S. soldiers overseas in places like Afghanistan. Someone asked me today, Chris, what do we do? How do we impeach the president? How can we take action? Just the fact that people would ask that shows how little power we actually have here in the United States of America. A supposed representative government. The people in America are the ones that should have all the power. That's how our country was set up by the founding fathers, a representative government. Not a selected monarchy, which is the case today. It's not even an election. It's just a selected monarchy by corporate America. If we want to impeach the president and people want to get rid of him, call your senators, write your senators, call your congressmen, write your congressmen, and demand that he's impeached. And if they don't bring charges of impeachment against the president, fire every single man, woman, and child in Congress and the Senate. And put people in power that actually represent what you want. We got a few people talking about it, like Marco Rubio out of Florida. We got the Tea Party talking about it. But we need to take action, folks. Again, this is a constitutional republic. It is a representative government. And the little guy, you, is getting screwed by these scumbag elitists at the very top, upper echelon of Wall Street and Washington, D.C. Bottom line is they don't care, folks. As long as they keep the easy drip of money, this bullshit money backed by nothing, coming their way so they can pad their pockets with more billions, if not trillions, they don't give a shit about you. And they're going to continue to rape this system till the next financial crash, until they literally have every dime, every dollar, and everything that you're worth. That's the truth. I'm Christopher Green, hard-hitting in your face as usual. Get this video out everywhere, make it viral, and click the link below.
Fifth order, 5A motions.
Mr. Wexler?
Thank you, Mr. McGough. As was brought up in public comment, I do have some information regarding garbage tax collections from 2013 compared to 2014. This would be for the first week of June of each year. In 2013, the city collected $2,355,594 through that date. For the year, they collected $3.3 million. So that represented, through June, about 70% of the total was collected in 2013. In 2014, we have received approximately $3.6 million through the first week of June. And that's against what we had budgeted was a $5.8 million amount for the garbage tax. So right now, the collections represent about 63% of what the total will be anticipated for our budget this year. Once again, I did question Mr. Beck about how many of these taxes had been, or the fees had been paid partially or in full, and right now the reporting system that they utilize does not identify that, and I asked him to do that for next year so we can get a feel for this on if people are paying the full amount or partial amount. If you take a look at how much the garbage tax was raised in comparison to the fee from last year, and if you use the same math, I would say we were about $400,000 behind in collecting the tax as if we were at the same spot last year. But we did increase the amount of time that people have to pay, so I'm not sure if it's a fair comparison. The amount of money that's coming in is on track, and hopefully as the summer goes on, we will make up the difference there. In terms of the treasurer's sale, you have to remember that this money has nothing to do with this year. This is money that was owed the city from past years. And actually, there were 665 properties that were up for sale, and 456 of those properties paid the amount that they owed. So that was money that the city was owed, and it was finally collected. 126 properties went through the sale, but the owner has a right to come up with the money on those properties by paying a 10% penalty. So in the end, really only 2 properties actually exchanged hands during this sale. This is another one of these things that is an ongoing process, that this list has been whittled down and whittled down to a manageable amount where we are bringing this money in every year, and eventually it should be zero. That's what we're hoping for. In terms of some of the other questions that were asked tonight, I have been working with Mr. Balzoni, going over some revenues and expenditures. The information that he has provided me is through the end of May. I am just getting into those, taking a look at how the collections are. This is part of the budget process that we will be getting into as the summer rolls along, so we can get an idea on our projections, real numbers against non-real numbers. And once again, I know I'm not supposed to say this to the speakers, but Mr. Balzoni has provided me every bit of information I've asked for. He's very open. He's doing a fine job as business administrator, and to me, working together with information, it can't be underrated, even though it is. We heard it tonight from Mr. DeSarno, Chief DeSarno. There are positive things going on here, and we just have to get that through. In regards to this issue that was brought up last week about East Mountain Road, Mr. Gahan and I were up there in March, and we had the same concerns that Councilman Rogan spoke about last week. The split in the middle can only be repaired with special equipment that the city does not have. Back in March, we talked to Mr. Gallagher, who was working with the sewer authority. They have the machine that can fix that problem when an opportunity arises. So hopefully, the focus of this will get that road fixed. That's all I have tonight, Mr. McGough.
Thank you. Mr. Rogan?
Yes, thank you. A few comments on a couple items that came up tonight. As Mr. McGough mentioned, council will be recessing for the month of August. As in the past 4 years, this is something that I have opposed. I do thank Councilman McGough for taking a straw poll of council this year. At least we all had to say it wasn't a unilateral decision as in past years. But I'm of the firm belief that City Council should meet every week when possible. There are far too many pressing issues in this city for council to not meet for 4 weeks. I believe we should be here. There's legislation that needs to be passed, and historically, the meeting, when council comes back from recess, the agenda has been this thick because items have built up. And especially with the new administration, I'm sure there are a lot of items that will be coming down the line for the agenda. So I wish that we would meet. I understand that, once again, the votes didn't go my way, but it's something that I think we should do. And I would support a recess when if the city had a balanced budget and things were all well, but that's not the shape we're in. So I would continue to oppose taking a recess in the month of August. A few items that were brought up. The North Scranton Junior High School, I did speak to Ms. Abley regarding that project this week, and I also brought it up in caucus. City Council will be sending a letter and placing a phone call to Mr. Langen from Goodwill to find out what the status of the project is and also what the status of the vouchers are, since that seems to be the big question, whether it was they were approved, whether they were denied, or whether we're still waiting for an answer. So we could have a little more clarity on that project, because that's one we would all love to see moving. Next, could we please reach out to, and I'll send you an email, Ms. Reeder, regarding this one. Mr. Dobson brought this up a couple times, and I was thinking about it a little bit more. The power lines at NAOG, whether we receive compensation from PP&L or whether we had in the past. It may have been a one-time deal where 40 years ago the city received compensation, or we didn't. But if their lines are going through the park, we certainly should receive some compensation for that. Next, I'd like to thank Chief DeSarno for coming here today to give us an update on some of the things him and Mayor Courtright have been working on. It's always good when our guys that are working at the fire department can receive a valuable service such as these vaccinations for free, so he definitely deserves a job well done. He's been doing a stellar job as chief. He really cares about his men, and all the guys at the fire department have been doing a great job. And on that note, I had the honor of playing some charity softball over the weekend with the Scranton Fire Department against the police department. The real winner of the game was the children. My performance wasn't the best at the plate, but everyone had a good time, and a job well done for the organizers from the fire department and from the police department that made that game happen. And finally, there was one announcement that I forgot to make, and Mr. Jackowitz reminded me when he mentioned the Dante Club. The Dante Club this Friday and Saturday will have their kitchen open at 5 p.m. And they'll have $2 specials: wings, burgers, sausage and peppers, different items. So stop by the Dante Club and try out those items. And that's all I have for tonight. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilman Laskey?
Thank you. Just a couple brief things. I too would like to thank Chief DeSarno for coming in tonight and updating us on some of the things that are ongoing on the fire department, and for his outreach and the cooperation with the administration and these other entities. Also, if we can, I'll get the names and addresses of the donors. Maybe we could send a letter from City Council thanking them and appreciating their donations. The tax sale, Mr. Wexler explained the tax sale, and just to alleviate a lot of, angst, only 2 properties were actually sold. The majority of the income came from people who paid what they owed or made arrangements and put something down, made payment arrangements and stuff like that. So it is a big benefit, and hopefully in a few years we'll get that down to 0. And the last thing, and maybe Mr. McGough will explain this after, but it was alluded to by one of our speakers here that the administration is looking to raid the workers' comp fund to pay this award. That is not the case at all. The workers' comp fund, not $1 would come out of the workers' comp fund. They had a meeting in Harrisburg, and basically they're looking to reduce the amount of percentage that has to be in there just to collateralize that upper part for the bank. It's, you know, it's an involved situation, but it does not involve taking $1 out of the workers' comp fund. Nothing will be touched. It's just a reduction of percentage that has to be approved by Department of Labor and Industry. And I don't know, you know, if Mr. McGough's going to explain that a little bit more, or if we're waiting till we get some more details on that. But I just wanted to clear that, because it sounds like they're just going in and taking money out of our workers' comp fund. And that is not the case at all, nor will it be the case. And I don't think any of us up here would allow them to do that. So that's all I have to say on that. Thank you.
Yes, thank you. Good evening. Council had received a complaint from a gentleman in North Scranton about a street light that was out in front of his house this past week. He had reported it on the city's website numerous times, but there was no response. Mrs. Reed had inquired with the DPW, and they had responded that they too had also received numerous calls that street lights were out throughout the city. Joyce Electrical, who handles street light maintenance, is behind schedule, but will be out to take care of these issues, so we thank them for that. And just as a reminder, if there is a street light out in your neighborhood and you're able to get the pole number, which is the 11 yellow digits on the pole, you can report it on the city's website under the DPW link, or you can go directly to nepalights.com and report that. I have an update on the Rockwell Avenue Bridge project. Bids were open on May 22nd. There is a Pennsylvania state requirement of 30 days for the post-bidding period. The bid is scheduled to be awarded the week of June 23rd. Krieger Construction was the apparent low bidder at $1,323,241. A gentleman from West Scranton contacted me and is very concerned about speeding on West Elm Street. He feels that it would make sense to make that street a one-way down near Cloverfield from 5th Avenue to Meridian Avenue. I'm going to get together with Mrs. Reed and contact DPW and Police Chief Carl Graziano to see if they can provide some opinion on this matter. It's very important to this gentleman and other residents of West Elm Street. So we'll see if we can try to take care of that. And that is all I have for this week. Thank you.
Can I just add something, Mr. McGough?
Sure.
Sorry. Mr. Godin reminded me, I do have several streetlight, a list of several streetlights also. I had put in for one quite a while ago, and it still hasn't been taken care of. So I will provide you with these streetlights, and perhaps we can send a letter to Joyce to expedite the situation. I don't know. We never had that problem before.
Yeah, and they had said in that correspondence that they were behind schedule, but they were going to be out, I think, this week, and they were going to start to get on top of things, so, for whatever reason.
And I've also spoken to the gentleman on West Elm Street about the same situation. I met with the police chief. There are do not enter signs down the bottom of the street. He tries to send police officers over there whenever he can. He's aware of this. This has been an ongoing situation for several years. We're trying to help the residents there, but you know, without having an officer to sit there full-time, it's tough, and they're trying to get there between the hours that this gentleman suggested. So, you know, we are working with him and the neighbors and trying to get that situation. But Chief Graziano and I discussed that at length about that. I mean, he was familiar with it too. So, you know, anything helps, just a little push. But just so the neighbors know, we're not forgetting them there.
No.
On the streetlights, I think we've all had a number of those requests, and when Joyce first received the city contract, they were days.
Yes.
We would get a request, we'd send it in, a day or two later it would be fixed, and it seemed that the time has progressively gotten slower. Hopefully, you know, because I'm sure we've just with what we have up here between the five of us, there's quite a bit of work that needs to be done. But hopefully that will speed up, and that contract may be coming up shortly.
I think it was just renewed.
Was it just renewed?
I believe it was, yes. Because I think I put in the one light prior to the renewal, and they were waiting to see the renewal or something, but now, you know, that's been a while,
Right.
so.
Well, hopefully they get addressed, because especially in the summer with the kids out playing in the neighborhoods.
Exactly. There's a lot of dark streets now.
Right.
Two very quick items. First, a thank you to Mr. Lockwood from the Times for the excellent article on the tax sale. what was reported by the newspaper, by Mr. Lockwood, was very accurate and I think very informative to the people of Scranton. Secondly, as Councilman Loscom mentioned, what Councilman Loscom said about the meeting in Harrisburg with Bureau of Labor and Industry was correct. We are simply waiting for a response from Labor and Industry as to a proposal that was made by the City of Scranton. And when we receive that response, then there will be more information regarding the proposal. And that's it. 5B.
5B for introduction, a resolution accepting the recommendation of the Historical Architecture Review Board, HARB, and approving the certificate of appropriateness for Bartosh Signs, 302 North Washington Street, Orwigsburg, Pennsylvania, 17961, to fabricate and install one single-sided internally illuminated sign. Sign cabinet will be constructed of welded aluminum on a subframe with routed graphics. Graphics will be constructed of plexiglass material. Internal illumination will be generated by high-output fluorescent tubes. Sign construction will be approximately 2 feet by 12 feet and will be mounted over the entrance of the unit at 532 Lackawanna Avenue, Scranton, Pennsylvania.
At this time, I'll entertain a motion that item 5B be introduced into its proper committee.
So moved.
Second.
On the question, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it, and so moved.
5C for introduction, a resolution authorizing the mayor and other appropriate city officials to execute right of entry for construction agreements with property owners located surrounding the West Lackawanna Avenue Bridge, including Americo Real Estate Company, Old Good Things Incorporated, Scranton Redevelopment Authority, and Irwin T. Coast for the purposes to conduct engineering, surveying, and inspection activities for visual inspection and to conduct testing of the condition of the concrete on the West Lackawanna Avenue Bridge.
At this time, I'll entertain a motion that item 5C be introduced into its proper committee.
So moved.
Second.
On the question, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it, and so moved.
6th order, no business at this time. 7th order, no business at this time.
If there is no other business, Mr. Gold?
I should have mentioned this during motions. Concerning the August recess, just to make note, if there was something pertinent regarding legislation, council would be able to still call a special meeting, just for the record. Thank you.
Motion to adjourn.